Welcome to the channel. I'm Stacy and my goal here is to help you to play better and sound better in your worship services. Today we're going to go over the parts for the song That's My King by CeCe Winans. This one's in the key of A flat at 95 beats per minute. I already covered the tones on this one in a previous video and I'll link to that in the description box below. This one's a fun one to play, and once I figured out the chord shapes that were being used, it was a lot easier to flow through the parts that are being played. First thing to note is that they're using D shapes, but it's kind of the low end of a D shape. So if we're playing D over here, we have the A and the D string that are part of that chord. And so we're just moving that shape up here to the 9th fret from the 3rd, and then we're barring for those two lower notes. This one starts off in the middle of the fretboard with the D-shaped A flat chord, and we're going to be focusing on kind of the low end of that, starting off right here at the 6th fret D string and the 8th fret on the G string. And it's just going to be a repeated pattern. And then after you pick that last note on the G string, you're going to slide that down to the 6th fret. And then there's a similar pattern happening on that position. And also that's another D shape. So we're going from A flat to F sharp, whether we're playing it like this or here. And then we're going to come back up to the A flat, and then we're going to pick the D string, the G string, and then the 9th fret on the B string. And then coming back up into that D shape, we're going to hold it right here. And then we're going to pick the G string and then the D string and then hammer onto the 10th fret on that D. And then you're going to pick that note again and then hammer again. And that covers the intro. For the first verse section, there really isn't a guitar being played, but if you're the only guitar player, or if you don't have the rest of the parts being covered, then it doesn't hurt to do this. It's pretty small in the dynamic mix, and so you're just going to come down to the 6th fret on the D string. And just kind of picking it with alternating palm mutes. And then going into the pre-chorus, we're coming back up to our D shape, the A flat, and we're just going to pick one note at a time, descending from the B string, 9th fret on the B, 8th fret on the G, and 6th on the D. From there, we're doing a descending major scale. Another spot for our A flat is this bar chord right here. It's an A shape at the 11th fret and the 13th fret. And so the major scale for that is we're not going through the whole thing. We're just going to cover this middle section of it. And that part repeats. So kicking into the chorus, we're going to come up to this A shape, and we're going to be barring our index finger over the G, B, and E strings, and then fretting the G string at the 13th fret, and we're just going to pick this pattern. That's just 2 picks on the 13th fret G string, 2 picks on the high E, back up to the G, and then the hammer on. And that repeats 8 times. And coming out of that chorus, we're going to go into an ascending and descending major scale in A flat, starting at the 5th fret G string, 5, 6, 8, 13, 11, 10, 8, 6. And then we're going to pick that 5th fret again. And then on this one, we're going to go from the 3rd fret to the 5th and back to the 3rd. So it's going to be like this. And then coming out of that chorus, we've got a little lick to play right before we get into the next verse section. And it's just more of that D, more of the chords off of the D shape. F sharp to A flat, but we're doing it with a low note. Actually, it's an octave. So we have an F sharp up here on the A string at the 9th fret, and then also down here on the B string at the 7th fret, sliding that up. One whole step. And then with our middle finger, we're going to fret the 10th fret on the D string. And then with our index finger and ring finger, we're going to pick on the 8th fret, hammer onto the 10th, let back up to the 8th, and then pick the 10th fret on the D string. So running it all together, it's like this. Now kicking into that next verse section, we're going to be back to that D shape, but there's a bit more going on, a little bit more melodic stuff. And so it's going to be played like this. So we're at the 6th fret and the 8th fret on the D and G string. So we're just going back and forth on that. And then we're going to pick the 6th fret, the 8th fret, slide up to the 10th, back to the 8th, and pull off back to the 6th, and then fret again at the 8th, picking both the D and the G strings and then pulling off from the 8th to the 6th fret. So slowing it down, it'll be like this. And then a little quicker. And then we're going to come back down to the F sharp and the 4th and 6th fret. Just kind of that repeated pattern. And then coming back up to the A flat, we're going to be playing in this D position. We're going to arpeggiate through it, and then we'll have a hammer on the G string from the 8th to the 10th fret. And then a little bit faster. And then coming down to the lower end of that shape, we're going to be alternating between the D and G string. And then we're going to pick the 6th fret, slide it up to the 8th and back down to the 6th. And then we're going to pick the D string at the 8th fret, slide it up to the 10th, back down to the 8th, and then pull off. So all together slow, it's like this. Speed it up a little bit. And then going into the next verse section, we're going to hit an A flat and then an F sharp up to another A flat. So this is A flat, this is F sharp. And we're just playing the top end of that with the high E and the B string. Little double stop there. And then we're going to come back down here to this F sharp shape. And we're just going to be picking notes off of the D and G string. So starting at the 6th fret on the G string, moving to the 4th fret of the D, and then the 6th fret sliding up to the 8th, back down to the 6th and pull off. It's going to be like this. And then we're going to fret the 6th fret on the G string, pick the 4th fret on the D, and the 6th fret on the D and slide it up. So all together, it's like this. I'll slow it down. And a little faster. When you have all the effects and the compression along with that, because it's a pretty highly compressed tone, it sounds really cool. And then coming out of that, we're going to come back up to our A flat. And it's just an alternating thing. At one point, we're going to pick at the 8th fret, slide up to the 10th on the G string. Right there. So that's between the 6th and the 8th fret, just alternating back and forth. And then we're going to come back down and do the same alternate picking, except instead of sliding up to the 10th fret on the G string, we're going to include the 9th fret on the B string, which is another A flat note for us here. And then we're going to repeat that on the low strings one more time. And then we have a little bend and release right here. So all together. And then coming out of that, we're going to go back into our pre-chorus, which is coming off of the D shape on the A flat. And then we're going into the chorus, which we did up here on the A shape, at the 11th fret. And that's going to wrap up the first part of the song, and then we go into a breakdown. At this point, we're done with the chorus. We're going to kick that off. We're going to kick on our fuzz, or your rat, or whatever it is that you have for a good high gain tone. And then we're going to be doing an ascending octave run starting at the D flat, and it's just going to be at the 4th and 6th fret, a whole step up to the 6th and 8th. That's your D flat to E flat, and then a half step to the E, and then a whole step to F sharp, and then a whole step to A flat. So whole step jump, half step, whole whole. And then on the cover for this song, I really gave a lot of vibrato to these two strings here, trying to sustain that note as long as I could. And then after that, we have a descending octave run starting at the 4th fret on the low E, and then 6th on the D. That's A flat, and then we're going to drop down to an F sharp, a whole step down, 2nd fret and 4th fret, and now a half step down to F, and then another half step down to E. And for this one, I just muted the A string with the tip of my index finger. And then we're going to pick and immediately slide up from the 1st fret to the 11th fret. And then we're going to fret the 13th fret and just hit those real hard. And then slide your hand down. It gives a nice effect. And then the end of the song is just a bunch of repeats on this chord progression. So we're going to be A flat, F sharp, and then we're going to be F sharp with an F in the bass to a D flat, and then A flat, F sharp with F in the bass to E. It's going to sound like this. And the rhythm I used for that part was just like this. This was a fun one to figure out and a little bit outside my familiar range. The key for me was figuring out what chord shapes were being used. And once I did that, I was able to find the notes a lot easier. And especially when we came to those flourishes where we've got sliding up and down or hammer-ons and pull-offs. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, subscribe and hit that like button for good measure. If you'd like the resources for this song, you can get the HX Stomp preset, the Helix preset, as well as the tabs at a link in the description box below. There's also a handful of downloads free for you in there as well. All right, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.